The best is dead. Perhaps the most well-known athlete in the world, three-time heavyweight champion Muhammad Ali, passed away Wednesday night in a hospital in the Phoenix area. The age of his age was 74. According to reports, one of the greatest athletes in history, Muhammad Ali, had his final resting place disrupted in unexpected ways. I have to be the best. God, the earth is my throne. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Ferdinand. Hold on. You're not that attractive, I'm a nasty guy. I gave the wall a shake. I gave the wall a shake. After he was buried, rumors circulated that his tomb had been secretly unearthed 9 years later. Only a tiny group of people present in complete secrecy, no press, no fanfare. However, what transpired has caused a surge of conjecture, amazement, and incredulity. It was said that scientists who had been sworn to quiet were astounded by what they saw. Nothing but silence, no dust, no decay. Why would a group of specialists in Ali's family decide to dig his grave after over 10 years? What was it that they discovered silenced even the most logical minds? Come explore the peculiarities around Muhammad Ali's tomb. What drew people to Muhammad's tomb? Muhammad Ali was buried in Louisville, Kentucky, on June 10, 1036. The world recently lost a titan, a heavyweight champion whose struggles spanned civil rights, politics, religion, and individual dignity in addition to the boxing ring. His funeral, which was as lavish and heartfelt as it was a reflection of his solitude and faith. In a sealed vault designed to last a lifetime and beyond, he was laid to rest in Cave Hill Cemetery, one of the oldest and most respectable cemeteries in the United States. The funeral itself served as a worldwide memorial service. Religious leaders, sportsmen, actors, and heads of state all came to show their appreciation. Behind the elaborate wedding, however, Ali's family made it quite plain that they desired peace. Private. There is no spectacle after death. No monument exalted. In his last moments, there is no camera flash. Strict observance of Islamic rites was maintained throughout his funeral. Burial right away, a shroud, prayers from the Muslim community, no toxic chemical embalming, and, above all, unhindered sleep. There was little space for disruption in the reinforced vault beneath the earth where his grave was sealed. Nevertheless, something changed almost 10 years later. The decision was made quietly but seriously, according to unconfirmed claims and a blog post that went viral and lit up corners of the internet. It would open Ali's grave. According to reports, they did it out of worry rather than for publicity or for customary exhumation. Both the sanctity of what was underneath and the vault's structural soundness were of concern. Muhammad Ali's mausoleum had begun to show signs of minor structural flaws, according to reports. It had minor alignment changes, hairline cracks along the base, and pressure points that suggested underlying movement. Slow foundational displacement over time or seismic influence were quietly brought up by certain specialists. Whatever the reason, it was evident that something was shifting beneath the surface, and this change could not be ignored for long. Some members of Ali's family allegedly worried a lot about this prospect. Emotionally and spiritually, it was thought, his body might be impacted by environmental deterioration beyond natural disintegration. Furthermore, persistent but unsubstantiated reports circulated that unusual happenings had been reported close to the graveyard. A metallic flickering light during night security patrols, and abrupt decreases in temperature. They were written off as urban tales by some. For some, these indications were too constant to be disregarded. A reputable group of mortuary scientists and preservation specialists reportedly received a call from the family. Their goal was to ascertain whether a controlled, respectful examination of the gravesite could be carried out without violating Islamic law or unnecessarily provoking a media frenzy. Thus, preparations were made in silence. A group was put together. In order to do routine maintenance, the cemetery grounds were closed. Despite being doubled, security was kept under wraps. And nearly 9 years after the world had said Muhammad Ali farewell, his tomb was opened early one spring morning. No headlines, announcements, drone footage, or paparazzi flurry, just a closed-off circle of people you can trust in mute. The largest concern that has not been addressed is what specifically led to the final approval to open the grave. Was it really a problem for the environment? Is it the silent yearning of a family to know that their loved one was unharmed, or is it something more, something that cannot be expressed? It is noteworthy that the story has not been verified by any reliable news organization. No grave disturbance has been acknowledged in public documents. However, according to the blog, the family intended that concealment. No leaks, no publicity, and no spectacle. It started out as a silent examination but apparently evolved into something far more memorable. Whether the decision to open Muhammad Ali's tomb was made because of structural concerns, spiritual guidance, or a combination of both, it was not made lightly. It was made with caution, with reverence, and with the serious weight of what it might disclose. What was discovered inside the tomb that morning, though? There, the enigma grows deeper and the stillness overpowers the words. What did you find? According to reports, the morning air was abnormally motionless, chill, and quiet. It felt really secure. In the name of structural maintenance, the cemetery had been off limits to the public. Scientists, cemetery officials, a few carefully chosen people, and Ali family members stood in silent expectation close to Muhammad Ali's tomb, a location that the world had long regarded as inviolable. Ever since it was sealed in 2016, the burial tomb had not been interfered with. It had reportedly been constructed to last. Buried down below Cave Hill Cemetery is a top-notch reinforced cage. In order to maintain the integrity of the chamber, rumors have it that even the tools needed to enter the tomb had to be specially made. According to reports, however, the tone changed from cautious procedure to hushed disbelief when the last block of protecting stone was lifted and the vault entrance was unsealed. The scene was described with awe and reverence in the blog post and reference video that started this whole flurry of inquiry. The team braced for the inevitable, natural decay as the vault opened. Even in the most impenetrable settings, 9 years have an impact. They expected dust, decay, skeletal remains, and rumpled clothing. Rather, they discovered something very different. Inside the vault was the body of Muhammad Ali, apparently in such uncanny preservation that it defied belief. According to the blog, the skin had not broken down. There were still distinguishable features on the face. He was still sleeping, his hands still resting lightly on his chest. His clothing was also reported to be free of mold, dampness, and collapse. There was no unpleasant smell, no indication of pest infestation, and the inside coffin construction was intact. Seemingly, the tomb had transformed into a flawlessly sealed capsule that had been unaffected by time or the elements. It was stated that the few scientists in attendance froze, unable to talk. The air in the chamber was described as being exceptionally clear as well. There are no insects, fungus spores, or very high humidity levels. Low and steady, the temperature was far more consistent than the surrounding soil should have been. How was this possible? Undoubtedly, there are innumerable documented instances of partial corpse preservation, frequently brought about by a unique confluence of dry conditions, extremely low temperatures, or chemical treatment. However, the completeness of the preservation was what shocked the onlookers. Not only the physical state but also the surroundings. The tomb's inside appeared undisturbed by the passage of time. There were whispers about it right away. Was this a spontaneous preservation situation? An unusual abnormality in forensics? Was it something else, though? Something religious? The material that was used to wrap his body has not reportedly faded or browned. In addition to the deterioration of the face structure, which usually disappears with time, there were no indications of internal pressure injury or the usual collapse of the body. Indeed, it was reported by a number of bystanders that Ali had a calm, almost happy, smile on his face. According to the widely shared video, someone in the room said the words, "It seems as though he has only been here for a day." In the Islamic faith, embalming agents are not used when burying bodies. Muhammad Ali had adhered strictly to this. Returning as naturally as possible to the ground was one of his last desires. These allegations, however, assert that he had not been claimed by nature. It was incomprehensible, overwhelming, and sacred to those in attendance. Immediately, speculation started. Was this a sign from God, a spiritually protective act? Could a man so full of life have somehow defied death in the most literal sense, not by reviving, but by refusing to deteriorate? Skeptics were present, of course. Others questioned if the allegations were exaggerated. Others questioned whether undisclosed preservation techniques were being employed. Did special materials line the vault? Had conditions in the soil kept temperatures constantly low? However, after over 10 years, the complete absence of decomposition was not well explained by any of these theories. The most disturbing aspect was probably the absence of any official forensic reports or photos, just the silence of those who were purportedly there. It is said that the family demanded that no pictures be taken, that no samples be taken out, and that the remains remain in the place of worship where they were found. Those in attendance allegedly stood silently for a few minutes before the tomb was sealed again. No medical analysis, no press release, no more intrusion. The enigma was locked back under the earth when they simply closed the vault. The internet version of the story resembles a hybrid of spiritual contact and folklore. The emotional weight of the supernatural, however, is too great for even the most skeptics to ignore. Ali continued to draw attention, make headlines, and challenge people's preconceived notions even after his passing. According to those who trust the narrative, Muhammad Ali's greatness extended beyond the ring and the arena of human achievement. The greatness was beyond the material realm. A power revered even in the past. To those who don't believe it, the story nevertheless conveys a powerful message about how the world still perceives Ali as a symbol as well as a fighter. An emblem of tenacity, transcendence, and impenetrable presence. These allegations, however, assert that he had not been claimed by nature. But it wasn't just that. While the onlookers were in awe of the intact body, someone allegedly saw something else. Not a part of any burial ceremony, not a part of the clothing, and not a part of the coffin. Almost exactly at the base of the body, near the bottom of the vault, was a strange circular black object. About the size of a grapefruit, smooth. Its texture was solid but crystalline, and it glinted somewhat in the low light that was introduced into the tomb. No one knew what it was or how it got there, rumors said. It didn't match any of the burial's items. It was not mentioned in any of the detention documents. It bore no resemblance to a tombstone element or religious object. Allegedly, one individual stooped to touch it. Although the burial itself was warm, the surrounding air was noted as frigid. It pulsed softly when the tomb was initially opened, according to some. Some said that was not conceivable. It's merely an optical deception. Just the mind playing with nerves. But the thing was still there. Unmoving, glassy, and black. The family was adamant, based on the blog post and the video narration, despite some discussion about taking it out for examination. The tomb would remain unaltered. Not even this weird thing. They told the scientists there to carefully record it in their notes and not to disrupt it. For what reason? Because no one was able to describe it. Perhaps more significantly, nobody wanted to tamper with something that was already incomprehensible by all standards. A few theories have been proposed online to try to explain it. A geode created over time, a sentimental object hidden by a mourner? Others imply something more enigmatic. A piece of spiritual art. A sign from God. Cosmic seals, even. While that may seem unrealistic, it's important to remember that strange stones or crystals found in graves are frequently connected to protection, eternity, or metamorphosis in folklore from many civilizations. Some people think they identify people who were selected by something that is beyond our understanding. There is currently no scientific analysis or documentation of the object. No picture, no X-ray, only a few sentences in an account, and the responses of people who claim to have witnessed it firsthand. And that's what gives the whole story its eerie quality. There was a lot of wonder mixed with stillness, reserve, and the lack of proof. After a while, the tomb was sealed again. Nothing was done to the object. After clearing the air, the area returned to its initial state of silence. People who were there allegedly prayed several times, not out of fear but rather out of respect for Ali, for what they had seen, and maybe for something they still didn't entirely understand. There was no question as to whether this black crystal-like object was real or if it had power, meaning, or symbolism. Explanations of the discoveries. The official language was silence from the time the tomb was locked again. there are no published scientific reports. Nothing was said. There were no pictures made public. All that was left were rumors of an untarnished corpse, a holy silence, and a black, crystal-like object that was difficult to categorize. The world was left to speculate, assume, and fill in the blanks that the quiet refused to explain, leaving it insatiably curious. The first group to react, of course, was the scientific community, which holds that everything, no matter how puzzling at first, has a logical explanation. The possibility of a well-preserved body after 9 years in the ground is not out of the question for them. Not unprecedented, but rare. In extremely regulated conditions, decomposition can be significantly slowed, particularly in sealed burial chambers that preserve constant temperatures and low humidity. Airtight building, pest-free conditions, and mineral-rich soil can all help to store organic material for far longer than anticipated. Skin, hair, and clothing that have been kept by the environment have even been found in practically intact remains from some ancient tombs found in deserts or cold regions. Could the burial vault of Muhammad Ali have produced a preservation chamber of its own? Perhaps. Ali was buried in a sealed reinforced casket that was intended to keep air and water out, according to reports. The utilization of steel, concrete, and specialty coatings might have contributed to the stabilization of interior temperatures. Even while Louisville's weather varies, it does provide extended stretches of calm, undisturbed earth, particularly in deeper burials. Yet there are still unanswered questions. Even in the best of circumstances, some degree of decomposition is anticipated. Skin gets thinner. Organs fail. Fabric gets darker. However, if the stories are accurate, none of these events took place. The preservation, according to scientists who claim to have seen the scenario, is indefinable. As a result, there are now more speculative theories. Mummification by natural means is one possibility. Under some circumstances, a body may quickly dry up, inhibiting the growth of bacteria that promotes decomposition. Ali was not, however, interred in a dry or well-ventilated space. He was wrapped in linen and buried underground in the damp climate of Kentucky. Usually, salt, heat, and airflow are needed for natural mummification. Neither of those existed. Anaerobic preservation is the subject of another theory. If oxygen is completely removed, decay-causing bacteria cannot flourish. A completely sealed casket could provide this kind of vacuum, but once more, that would merely postpone decay rather than permanently stop it. 9 years with no discernible change is almost unprecedented. The spiritual lens is another. Cases such as this are interpreted by many in the Muslim community and other religious communities as manifestations of divine favor. Stories of martyrs and virtuous spirits whose corpses never rot can be found in Islamic eschatology. An indication to the living and a favor from Allah. Despite their rarity and lack of publicity, such claims have been made for ages in a variety of religious traditions. In Catholicism, saints whose bodies are preserved without embalming are referred to as incorruptible. Vianney, St. John, and St. Bernadette of Lourdes. Similar customs are shared by non-Catholics, such as Eastern Orthodox saints. Their bodies appeared to be unaltered by the passage of time when their graves were opened decades after they were buried. Would Muhammad Ali, a man of great faith, modesty, and spiritual fortitude, be going through something similar? Although he was not considered a saint in the religious canon, he was even more of a rarity to many, particularly among black Muslims. A live representation of God's will. A man who sacrificed all to uphold the truth. Who sacrificed fame, fortune, and Olympic medals for faith. Who showed decency to others despite the world's refusal to follow suit. It may be argued that Ali had earned his incorruptibility if it is a symbol of heavenly recognition. Then there's the thing. A whole new level of mystery is added by the black, spherical stone that resembles crystals and was allegedly discovered near Ali's foot. What was it made of, one may initially wonder in a scientific mind. Made by humans or by nature? Was that a deliberate placement, or did it form over time? Geologists hypothesized on the internet that it might have been onyx or obsidian, volcanic minerals with a shiny black sheen. However, neither of these, especially not in flawless spherical shapes with crystalline structures, are found in Kentucky soil naturally. It might have been a geode that developed gradually from mineral deposits under pressure, according to certain theories. Again, though, how likely is it that such a geode would form right under a grave? And kept in a sealed environment, away from air and groundwater, in great condition. Others tended to use metaphors. In numerous civilizations, black stones represent defense, stability, and fending off evil. For generations, people have considered onyx to be a psychic protection. Certain beliefs hold that these stones are drawn to locations with a lot of energy or significance. Could there be a spiritual significance to such a stone? We don't yet know if it was there by chance, ritual, or some other power. It was also referred to as a seal or a sign by a few observers. A warning not to disturb Ali's tomb ever again. That a decision had been made in that silent place under the ground. A warning to the people who opened it to keep what they found unaltered. They paid attention. The stone was abandoned. No samples, no tests, just silence and respect. In the end, the human response to it all, rather than the body, the vault, or the black crystal, may provide the most telling explanation. The fact that those in attendance decided not to share the results. The fact that there was only a single video, a quick blog post, a tidal wave of supposition, and no major news coverage, interviews, or photographs. The truth is that maybe the stillness isn't accidental if the claims are accurate, if a legend was kept alive over all odds, and if a sign arose out of the blue. Perhaps that is the purpose. Perhaps this moment should be observed and reverently cherished rather than a discovery to be examined under fluorescent lights. Muhammad Ali was well known throughout his life for his voice, his movements, and the way he yelled truth into venues that attempted to suppress him. Perhaps he left one last message in death, one that was not expressed in words or blows but rather in silence, serenity, the unbroken tranquility of a body, and a mystery that defied all expectations. Whether you think the answer is found in religious tradition, soil chemistry, or something else entirely, one thing is certain. Not in life, not in death, and perhaps not even in eternity, will the world see a figure like Muhammad Ali. The one constant desire of Muhammad Ali's family from the start was solitude. Even when he was at the top of his game and everyone was watching him, Ali kept a modest dignity away from the cameras. That same value was carried by his family into his final resting place after his death in 2016. Why did his family wish to remain silent? Therefore, many questioned why this wasn't breaking news when rumors quietly broke that his grave had been uncovered 9 years later without any official confirmation. What prevented it from dominating headlines? Why not have a press conference? Not even a formal statement? No research paper? It appears that Muhammad Ali's legacy and the way his loved ones have chosen to commemorate it are the key to the answer. During the entire procedure, the family demanded complete discretion, according to the few reports that have gone viral online. There were stringent non-disclosure agreements in place for the exhumation. The media from outside was not invited. No supporting documentation was distributed. Private security and a very trusted group kept watch over the entire operation, which was conducted early in the morning behind locked cemetery gates. According to rumors, there are several reasons why they chose to remain silent. Spiritual and religious issues come first. In Islam, it is considered a serious offense to disturb a grave. In actuality, it is usually discouraged unless it is absolutely required. Intense prayer, contact with religious leaders, and a strong spiritual motivation were probably required before the family agreed to open the tomb. Making such an act public could expose one to criticism or misinterpretation from the larger Muslim community. It's possible that their silence served to preserve the moment's sacredness and steer clear of controversy. The second is to honor Ali's desires. Muhammad Ali made it apparent prior to his death that he did not want his death to be a spectacle. He desired a speedy burial in keeping with his religious beliefs and free from the media hysteria that had engulfed much of his life. His last desire might have been preserved by the family by keeping any posthumous discoveries confidential. To sleep in quiet without drawing attention to themselves. The third is moment protection. What was discovered inside the tomb, according to those rumors, was not only unexpected but also holy. The atmosphere, the unusual black crystal-like object, and his physical state. It is impossible to deny the emotional weight they allegedly held, regardless of whether you accept these details or not. Maybe the family realized something that's sometimes overlooked in the digital era: that certain mysteries lose their significance when they are examined in public. They maintained the impact of the event by keeping quiet. The awe, the mystery, the unsolved questions. Self-preservation comes last. It is inevitable that controversy will arise when a world-renowned figure is buried, especially one with religious and cultural significance. Accusations, critiques, and theories. The family stayed out of it all by keeping quiet. No need to elaborate. No need to explain. They just took the actions they felt were necessary for Ali, themselves, and the veracity of what they saw. Perhaps the strongest statement they could have made is to remain silent in a world that is so fast to expose, post, and profit from everything. There was silence at first. Not a lot of news. Not a formal announcement. Little more than a trickle of conjecture on obscure blogs, underground forums, and conspiracy-oriented YouTube channels. The internet didn't ignore it, however, as rumors circulated that Muhammad Ali's grave might have been secretly uncovered almost 10 years after him. Public response. Not through headlines or confirmed tweets, as is customary for viral news, but rather through the backdoors of curiosity. Subtle rumors started to circulate about hosts saying things like, "What they found in Muhammad Ali's tomb will shake you," or "Ali's body was never meant to be seen again until now." Despite their low quality and frequently anonymous narration, they evoked strong emotions. Not because they instantly believed it, but because they couldn't believe it was being disregarded, people leaned in. Why had it gone unreported by major news outlets? Why are there no pictures, no records, and no proof? What's more, if that weren't real, why would the family keep quiet? The story was given life by the lack of widespread publicity, not killed it. Wonder found a place in the information void. Additionally, the public's voices became louder while the official ones became quiet. Other people were skeptical right away. They questioned the unidentified sources, the timing, and the absence of proof. They maintained that this was really a myth in the making. Akin to the urban legends that consistently appear years after the passing of a well-known person. One Redditor said that magical realism is not necessary for Ali's legacy. The man really was a legend. But hundreds more were wondering what might have happened for every skeptic. If accurate, how could Ali's body have been immaculate after 9 years in the ground? What was this weird black thing that resembled a crystal that was allegedly found next to his remains? Was it something heavenly, or was it natural? The narrative generated a lot of thought and even heated discussion among the religious communities, especially among those who are familiar with Islamic customs. Islam has, but not always, linked piety and righteousness with the preservation of the body after death. Other religions also have the idea of incorruptibility, most notably Catholicism. However, it sparked admiration and discussion to have it possibly linked to a contemporary Muslim figure as international as Ali. Was God sending this message? Reminding us of his loyalty, his morals, and his fights for justice and human rights outside of the sports arena? Some religious people praised and prayed on social media, calling the incident a miracle. Others were more cautious, cautioning against elevating Ali to the status of a saint. The grave's dignity should be kept private, they stressed, and whatever was discovered, if anything, belonged to Ali and his creator. Meanwhile, conspiracy theorists took advantage of the situation. Discussions arose in fringe theory-prone areas of the internet, connecting the black crystal-like object to anything from ancient relics concealed on Earth to extraterrestrial interference. A widely held belief likened the item to the black stone of the Kaaba in Mecca. However, there was immediate criticism for this because it was historically disconnected and theologically incorrect. Some, however, found the comparisons too alluring. They claimed that in addition to his athletic prowess, Ali represented spiritual rebellion. But what if he wasn't just a boxer? What if he was picked and kept safe even when he died? Others hypothesized that his family's quiet was defensive as much as a matter of privacy. Protection against criticism from the general public, from exploitation, or even from influential organizations that might wish to suppress such findings. The intense emotional attraction of Muhammad Ali himself was at the center of it all. For millions, he was more than just a hero in athletics. He was a political icon, a representation of Muslim faith, black pride, and unwavering moral bravery. We wanted to think that something more than man would have recognized someone like that, someone who contributed so much. Younger generations were also captivated by the mystery of the story, not because they had grown up watching Ali fight. Ali's supposed exhumation was shrouded in hallowed stillness, something this generation hardly ever experiences in a time when every secret seems to be revealed and every tomb robs the past of respect. How come no one was talking if something really did happen inside that tomb? That quiet grew louder than any news report. This isn't for profit, it clarified. It's not just for show. This is for something completely different. As a result, individuals are left wondering. Is the narrative authentic? Did the tomb actually open? What is the explanation, spiritual or scientific? Was the black crystal thing an artifact with a deeper significance or just a natural anomaly? Maybe we'll never find out. And perhaps that's what Ali leaves us when he passes away. As throughout his life, he refused to be confined, to be fully described, to be reduced to a small size. For when a man uses his voice and hands to fight for truth, the world watches. In addition to clicking the next video that appears on your screen, please like and subscribe if you like this one.